Well, it's currently Monday, 27th of November, 5:07. Still making motor mounts. The plan is this afternoon to continue with that. So to continue on this mount up episode, just to let you know where we're at. We are currently this Thursday, 5 Thursdays. That 5th Thursday, the truck has to be at scrutineering at Summernats. So there's a little bit left to go on it, but we're getting there. So going to continue with the mounts. We put it up on jack stands last night before we went in. Had to go and get the back tyres swapped out. So we're running radials on it now instead of those cross pliers. Wasn't steering very well. Cross pliers, pretty well you're in for the ride once you're in for the ride. So with it up on stands now, what we can do is we're going to jam the tail shaft into it. So as I said, I already have a tail shaft to suit a C6 that was out of this truck. So we're going to try and use it. I got new unis on the way for it. But got it up on stands last night and realised it's had a diff flip and a little notch in the back too. So I already knew that this was the case. As you can see, on the back we've actually used a half round U-bolt and a square U-bolt on the front. Not going to fly here. But what we'll probably end up doing is actually putting the diff back under the leaf springs, and Dad and my brother are actually going to start pulling the tub off it tonight for me. So once the tub's off, that'll give me heaps of clearance to do stuff like exhaust, flip the diff back over the right way. Having it another 3 inches up in the rear isn't going to hurt me. With full droop, axle lines should be nearly center to each other. So it should nearly ride level instead of towing the invisible caravan. Most of my cars do tow the invisible caravan, but I'm going to get away with it with this one, purely because I want to use it for its intended purpose, and that's that tub there. As a ute. I don't have a ute. Anytime I need to go and pick something up, got to ring Tom, got to ring Saxon, got to ring Nick. So, going to try and use it as an actual ute. I'm going to crack on with these engine mounts now and get into it. So just working on motor placement left to right. So what we've got is a plumb bob running down through the center line. So what we do is we take a measurement this way. So we've got 174. Measurement back this way. Sorry, 374. Measurement back this way, 374. So now the motor's centered. So what I did with the digital angle box was we took a measurement off this cross member, took a measurement off the manifold, off the rail and off the manifold. So the manifold lengthways will adjust with the transmission cross member, but it's pretty close where it is. So I'm going to go ahead and make some engine mounts now. First of all, we'll do some cardboard design of what we want, cut them out, make sure they're going to work, and then transfer them to some steel and chop that up. So on Monday I got a little bit done before it started to rain. Got a cardboard template made up, but I've already decided that I want to change the design. I want to make a bolt in. So under here we'll probably run a 6mm plate and some captive nuts in the rail, just so it's easy to get the mount in and out. Also, while I was doing that, Dad and Toby did a little bit on the back. The tub's actually gone. The tub is off. So, much like most things, always opens a surprise up. The they took the timber out of the back, and this is what we found. So it's actually had a massive hole cut out for the diff. The diff pumpkin actually sat up through the hole, cut pretty straight. But in the next episode, you're going to see us fix up the diff. It's now not going to go through the tub. It's going to go back to actually pretty standard height, which is unheard of for one of my cars. The timber was all in here. These really shitty bars were welded in, but we've got a bit of a rust issue up on the front edge where some water or dirty mud shit has sat. So the way that the tub's actually constructed is this center bit's actually removable, so we'll probably pull it out and run just like a bit of MDF for some of it. That's all it really needs. Unless I can find like an old Hilux or something that has a good center section that we can use. So I've already started to draw it up, but we've got new top hat for the front, new mid top hat. This one's blown through from the hole, so we'll fix her up, put another one in, and as you can see, it's just spot welded up there, but most of it's all cracked away anyway, so that center section will be removed, but that's in another episode. I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's pretty important to work out clearances and stuff, because that's been rubbing. It had smashed brake lines in it, it had smashed exhaust, it had everything. So back to the engine mount. I'm going to change the design a little bit. I'll show you what we do. Let's do it. As I said, just a little change of design to make them bolt in. So we've grabbed some 6mm plate and I cut them up into 4 pieces. So it's 80mm down the face with 1 bolt in it, and then up on top we've got 2 bolts. They're M10, and I can hear Matty rolling in his grave about it. Not rolling in his grave, he's not dead, but he's yelling at the TV, that's for sure. So just clamp them to this angle to make them 90 degrees and corner to corner. Tack them up. So we'll take them out there, see how they position, modify the cardboard template to suit, then cut the outriggers, and then start taking it all together. So we've got a cardboard template fitting up perfect, where I'm happy with it. So what I've gone through and done is marked 4 of them out, try and get the best sheet utilisation or piece utilisation. What I've done is I've actually cut it off the bigger piece, because it really annoys me when you have like skeletons of crap essentially. So we'll cut all the 4 of these out on the bandsaw, and I'll show you how we put them all together and trim them up so they're the same. So I've managed to cut all 4 plates. Took maybe 10-15 minutes on the bandsaw. What we'll do now is we'll get just like a little C-clamp and a big C-clamp, and we'll just clamp them together. Try and line one face up that's all the same, and then that will be our datum. Then what we do is we sand them all, run them on the belt linisher, and then we have 4 plates the exact same. And there we have 4 identical plates ready to tack up. Absolutely got torrential rain yesterday afternoon, so we ended up having to tarp the motor up really quick. Massive storm come through, but before that happened I did rush a little bit, and I got one side all tacked in. So all I've done is just tacks on the end, so I knew the distance in here. I'll probably sand these back a little bit because we'll end up tigging them. We've got pretty nice corner to corner fitment on this side. A couple tacks inside just to hold it square. I'll probably end up putting a plate in between here. Just something maybe with a nice curve. Don't know if I'm going to go on top or down in the center. I'll have a look, because the same plate will do both positions because of the distance that it is if I want it corner to corner. So we'll pull them out. We'll probably MIG the engine end and TIG the rest of it on, just so it looks nice. Got this side prepped up. This side it's good down the bottom, but the angle's just slightly different on this side of the engine mount. So I'll double check the angle, because this will be the one that locks it in. Double check the angle of the motor, make sure it's good left to right off the cross member, and then tack that one on. Center punch the holes, pull it all out, bolt them up, put the gusset in. That's next. So just going to use these transfer punches. So as you can see, it pulls in the center of the hole. Good old whack. Punches the center. Now we can drill those out, bolt some nuts in, put the engine mounts in for good. She's bloody hot. I love a heat wave, but anyway, I wasn't gonna get anything laser cut on this truck. I'm just gonna do it all myself. But I got to the point where we're gonna do the inbuilt pieces for the engine mounts, and I had to get some other stuff cut, so I thought may as well. So what we've got is just a nice little design. Open top design, helps keep it square. The other things I got cut were these over here. They'll feature in a later episode. Now that's done, I'm back inside the shed. As you would have already seen, got under the truck and measured where the transmission crossmember is going to be. So this piece of tube is going to be it. Got our measurements between marked out on this bit of plywood, and our depth down. Center of this line is the center of the plate. Top of this line, or the edge, is where the mount needs to sit. So just got our angle finder out, gone through, worked out roughly what angle we want. I think we're going to go about a 40-degree angle. So I'm going to mark this piece of tube out, just set with the orbital, set up the tube bender. I'll show you how that works. So we've just got it set up in the tube bender. So what we've done is we've just pulled all the preload out of it. We've got our mark lined up, hence our die. We've taken our angle measurement across here, and we've got it the same on here. So what we'll do now is we'll engage the ram, hit the button, check, bring it round to 43 degrees. It's got about 3 degrees of spring back in it, and take it back over to our template and see how it looks. Now we've got the piece bent up, and a fair bit of off cut on it, but that's okay. Can make cheap bars. I will be making one very soon. Had a rough idea of how much I needed, but not a full idea. So mark the center line. So when we mark our start points, always mark them off a center line instead of off an end. Depends what you're doing. For a cage, you'd probably go off an end. For this, the center line is our datum and where we want it to be the middle. So as you can see, we can now see on our line where we need to mark. This ends the edge of the timber. fair bit of overhang. I'll keep that tube. Such things as watch links. That's what I use for watch links as well, same diameter. So there's probably actually a watch link kit in that tube alone. So that's done now. What we'll do is trim her up. I'll use these lines, use a ruler, mark down, cut it with the grinder. Probably cut it just a little bit big, and then we'll sand it down to suit. We'll slide back under and see how it goes. I've just got to mark the center of this tube. Now I've got it bent up. I'll slide under and I'll show you why. As you can see, got the center mark there, top and bottom. It's 38mm tube, so half of 38mm is 19, which is exactly what this plywood is. If we were to lay it flat on the bench, mark across the top of the plywood, we now have center of the tube. Do that both sides, and now we've got a reasonably decent center mark. So down the center of that tube's marked out. It's going to make the next job really easy, which I'll get under and I'll show you what it is. So it's currently like the middle of storm season for some reason here. Massive thunderstorm went through last night. It's now Saturday morning at like 6:30, so I'm trying to be real quiet in the backyard. I try and get myself to a point where I can do quiet things like welding and stuff like that doesn't impact too much on the neighbours with like grinders and stuff. But next job is to put this bar in under the transmission, which we'll slide under and show you in a minute. Before we do that, but grab the old trusty digital angle finder out, took a level off the rail, we popped the carb off and took a level off the manifold. It is within 0.1 of a degree, which is more than enough. So I'm now confident to slide under with a tape measure, double check that the box is centered, and then tack that tube off, pull it out for final welding. We'll also pull these out for final welding this morning, which means we can lift the motor out, put the converter in, and lock it back down for good. Alright, let's slide under and we'll show you what's going on under there. It's a little bit hard to get a decent angle under here, but bear with me. As normal, bit of a quick hit with a wide brush, bit of a weld through primer. It's grey today, not copper, doesn't make a difference. It does, but it doesn't, not in this application anyway. So, plate up and in. We'll now put our bar across. So what I've gone through and done is mark the center of the plate, and then I can line that up with the center of the tube, tack the tube to the plate, it'll push it out into the rail where it needs to be. Before we move to do that, we'll put the tube into this little mount we made, and once it's in there, that will set our location for those. We will then tack those off, tack the tube off, pull the tube out, weld these in, give them a quick sand, and then weld this off, probably TIG this to the tube, take these plates off, TIG those to the tube as well, and then we're set. Just before I go through and do it all, we'll double check this is centered to everything. We've got our angle correct. So what that means is we can now go through, and when we do the diff flip back to normal, we now know what our pinion angle should be running off the bottom of our pan. So it's easy to set up so we get the correct pinion angle so it doesn't chew through universal joints. I'll tack all this off and go from there. Breakfast time at Backyard Builds World HQ. So here it is, the 3 mounts. Bench is an absolute mess. We're gonna roll these up now and then tidy this up. One thing that I have found, these holes are perfectly in the center. They may need to be elongated just to make it easier to get the motor in and out. We'll put it back in again as it is, see how it goes. But crack the welder out now and weld them all up. Definitely 37 degrees today, but just finished welding all these up, hung them up in the paint booth, and just had a good coat of satin black. So really happy with how these mounts came out. There's a few little bits and pieces that I could have touched up a little bit better, but it is what it is. Look really good. Before you ask, yes, that is another chassis hanging from the roof. I did accidentally just drop this and bent the plate. So I will hammer that back out before we put it in. But the rain just started belting down. So I think that's going to wrap up this episode of mounting the 352 FE into 58 F100. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week on Backyard Builds.